Hey, it's Nicole. Welcome back to the show. So excited to have all of you here. Let me tell you about our guest today, Schwanke. She is the co-host of HubSpot Hacks. It is the unofficial YouTube channel for anything HubSpot related. And I worked with HubSpot for years. I love them. And I'm so excited to talk with somebody who's the unofficial educator on it because, their stuff was really, really clean and polished. But it turns out that Allie has a no BS approach. And I'm pretty excited to chat with her here today. I feel like we're working with the pro, and I can't wait to dig in on all the tech things that some of you listening forget that you can automate, some of the marketing things that you realize that your data that you're not paying attention to is telling on your customers, your best prospects that are out there. And I have a feeling she's going to dig in and share with us all about that.
Hey, if you're an entrepreneur who usually fast forwards intros just like this one, this is the podcast for you.
Hey, just a reminder, our show is brought to you by SmartCookie Media, where we believe data tells a story, and not just any story, your business story. As a subscriber to the show or as a client, you'll get insights on profitable, data-driven marketing strategies that work for you and your business, your industry, not some cookie cutter trends. No, ideas that are led by your customer data so you know they'll work for you. Connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram to learn more. Everything's in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the show. Allie, welcome to the show. Thanks for having me.
Hello, Allie.
I like to start the show the way we do with every single guest. Allie, tell me, how would you finish this sentence? You know you're an entrepreneur when?
I would say I know I'm an entrepreneur when I wake up every morning and don't have a boss telling me that I have to go to work.
But that you run there anyway, or is that just me? Because I'm like, I can't wait to get to my next thing.
I definitely wake up every day looking forward to it. I see the world as just problems to be solved, period.
Oh my gosh, it's like an engineering mentality too, and entrepreneurs for sure. Is there a story there? Is there a recent problem that you were like, that could be solved?
Well, I recently discovered that that's called codependency.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic.
Oh man, who told you that?
I know, I was
like attacked and I want to avoid them too.
So this is also, you may have this disease if it's called everybody in the school has you in charge of the school fundraiser and the potlucks and this and the sports teams. And you're just like, how did I get in the middle of all of this? I've just slowly learned that I am not the entrepreneur for everyone's problems. I need to solve my own. So yes, that is the true story.
There's still a fine appreciation of being that person from behind the scenes who will still criticize, mock, and ridicule people who screw it all up and offer no help whatsoever. I tend to find myself from time to time being like, yeah, look how badly they're screwing that up right now. Or like, I'll text Nicole randomly, look at that sign, look at this, look how badly they're messing this up right now. And it's been a safe spot for me to go, and yet it's not my problem to fix. I'll talk about it on the show to give us good content.
And that was the genesis for the show. How many more of these can
Literally, we have a Slack channel now called Vent. We have a Vent channel for this reason.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh my gosh, I'd love to know what's on it. Okay, but another time maybe.
Yes.
So tell us, what do you do? What businesses do you own?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, my name is Allie and I run a channel on YouTube called HubSpot Hacks. We're the largest unofficial channel, but to make money, YouTube creator is not that profitable. Like I'm not making millions of dollars from you guys watching my videos, but thank you very much if you do. We run an agency and we have two primary lines of business. One is we help folks with HubSpot, marketing automation, sales training. And then we have content production. So pieces like this where we're helping folks with multimedia, monetizing on YouTube, creating YouTube channels, writing blogs, all the things you do to drive traffic.
I love it. When did the show start and when did the agency start?
Agency started in 2016 and the YouTube channel started about 2019, like toward the end of 2019. And we started it as a idea that we had pitched to a client that we thought, why don't they do a tutorial channel for their software? And they thought, well, that's cute. And they didn't take us up on it. We're like, well, let's just prove that people will watch this. And then surprise for us, it became a giant lead source. It actually solidified our expertise in video and YouTube. And it's been a game changer for us.
My gosh, I love it. So what's your story? What led you to entrepreneurship? Was there a specific moment, an event, some type of experience that you're like, this is going to be my life's work?
I think that I knew that when I was younger, that I needed to be in that ownership leadership role, but I never had any folks in my life that were entrepreneurs. I literally imagine the world as like, you go to college, you're very smart, you become a doctor, a lawyer, a this, a that, a banker, whatever. I worked for someone who had a small business, they grew it, and I learned a lot of what to do and what not to do on the inside. And so I started keeping those lists. And then I tended to reach the top pretty quickly and would exasperate my options and then be like, this is boring. I always had the ownership mentality. Like, I'm here at 7, I leave at 7, and I tried to buy into a business once and that went terribly. I had a job where I wanted to escalate to another role. I'm like, dude, I will train into this position because they didn't have enough work for what I was doing. And they're like, no, stay in your corner. I needed a bigger challenge and eventually decided that I should probably just go on my own.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, I bet.
Give me a little bit more meat and potatoes on how you became the unofficial HubSpot rock star that you are.
Yeah, well, my first business out of college was a photography studio. So that actually ignited my love of content, my love of like anything visual. And so I learned a lot of those skills. But at the time, that was about the time everyone was getting a digital camera and launching their own like photo business. And I was like, I'm out. Like, bye-bye. Like, this isn't going to be working. When we launched our YouTube channel about HubSpot hacks, we had signed up as an agency to be a HubSpot partner. And I falsely had assumed that once we get a partner badge, our business is going to take off. Oh, that's just a big giant crock of crap. That's not going to happen.
Right.
What basically it means is you learned how to use the software. Congratulations. Here's your gold star. Now go make some money. And we're like, oh, okay. Well, this is hard. So we hosted our local user group. And what that also meant is, for those of you listening, I'm in the Midwest, right outside of Omaha, Nebraska. We tend to be an ag specific area. There's a lot of insurance business, but as much as we want to believe we have high tech, we don't have Silicon Valley here. So there's not a lot of sophisticated marketers using high profile software in the year 2016. So we hosted these user groups and again, got very little business out of it. We launched this YouTube channel just off of a whim. And suddenly everyone's like, oh, you're those HubSpot people. And we're like, what the heck? Like, we've been hosting these user groups so long and now we create a weekly video and you think that we're all these experts. So what it taught me that showing up regularly about a topic is the most underrated way to get in someone's mind about something, and being super laser focused about a topic helps. We just have so few compartments in our brain. If you try to be everything to everyone, they don't remember you for anything.
Right.
So we just decided as a company, we're going to lean into HubSpot. Every agency we saw was trying to do all of these platforms. And we just wanted to be the people that knew more than everybody else so that you trust us more. So the channel became that. And as we did that, we learned the ins and outs and probably know more than most agencies about B2B YouTube. So we've leaned into that. So it's been this kind of journey that, because we're the first to the table on all of these conversations, we tend to know more and fix a lot of what other agencies break for clients, to be honest. So we found ourselves recognizing the power of sticking to one story. As boring as that sounds internally, for all the entrepreneurs listening, you get bored by your story way sooner than your customers do. So stay on the train, and actually it's a really good thing for them to trust you and know what to go to you for.
The pile of crap, was that the unofficial statement from HubSpot, or was I'm a little bit lost on the badge and all the professional series,
still unofficial.
stickers on the front glass windows of your marketing agencies, things like that.
Officially, HubSpot said it was a pile of money in their pocket.
Oh, that was their interpretation.
That was their official.
I got you. Okay.
Well,
By the way, if HubSpot's listening, we're looking for sponsors. I don't know if we're gonna win it with that one. I don't know, but
I mean, I would say for anyone that is considering a certification or something to augment your credibility and professionalism in the market, like, it's an important thing to do it.
Right.
But the thing that I falsely assumed as a younger entrepreneur was that my customer base cared about these certifications as much as I thought they did.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I will say we are a diamond HubSpot partner.
Mm-hmm.
As people who are not HubSpot users, do you know the different levels and do you care?
no.
Probably not. Like,
I mean,
like I was
diamond
like,
sounds
no.
pretty great. So I hope that that's their top.
I know. So here I'm thinking, like, I could probably make up that we are a
Totally.
purple glove,
Triple bass, but
Exactly. Yeah, there you go.
totally.
Exactly.
We'd be
Yeah,
like,
totally. We'd be
whoa.
like,
Yeah.
whoa,
yeah, we are the Gandalf.
they should do that
Yeah.
actually. So talk to me about this. We do some how-to videos for SmartCookie Media over here, right? SmartCookie Media produces the Serial Entrepreneur Show. But part of what we do is we often kind of demystify some type of tech tool, something that either someone has asked me about specifically, they want to know more about, or something we're just testing out and trying to figure it out. And someone recently, they were saying like the how-to content, like that has to die off because so many people, so many humans that we serve are feeling these feelings of being stuck. And so what they really need is that they need this coaching around their feelings. They need to feel like they can do the thing, right? Like there's some part of like this, how can you help them believe that they can do it too? that how-to content doesn't always do that. But maybe there's an element that you always make sure you weave in, that you make sure that you have, brought them along that journey to be like, and you can do it too. It's not just Allie who does it because she's been doing it for forever, but here you can do it too. So do you have anything to say to that, to whether how-to content really should die off and whether it should be this motivational piece?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because we just had this conversation internally about whether or not we ignite enough fear in our content. People do a great job of watching our videos and learning how to do things, but we don't talk about like, here's the things that you're probably going to screw up. And the way I equate that is if you think about the DIY channels on HGTV or whatever, they single-handedly keep contractors in business because people are knocking out walls and messing up electrical and screwing up their plumbing because they think they can do it themselves.
Yeah.
So I would wholeheartedly disagree with that comment about the how-to content. I think if you teach people exactly how to do all the things in the platform, you probably are a creator monetizing on YouTube and that's your revenue goal. If you're trying to build a business around it to use how-to content to draw leads, you probably need to figure out your content strategy is what it sounds like, because you should do enough to show them they can do it, but you should also quantify it's not worth their time. They don't have enough expertise. And anything to an amateur seems easy until they start doing it. Like, I mean, I replaced a sink last weekend and I was like, oh yeah, this actually takes a lot more time than I thought it did.
That's funny because educating the pain a little bit on like, do they really know what they're getting into? Those DIY shows, those home improvement shows, they actually do that. It's the worst, like terribly scripted part of the show, right? But it's like, hey, did you see that there is a can of worms in this flooring and it is filled with termites? Wow. And you're like, really? Like, you knew that before you bought the property. Like, come on. To my next how-to video, I'm just going to be like, and the can of worms you don't want to open.
The show just wouldn't be that interesting. But if we did that for web-based projects, like, hey, here's the deal. Let me show you the stuff that's behind this WordPress wall because you insisted on hosting yourself and now all your plugins are screwed up and they mess up your site and you have an HT access issue. What's an HT access issue? You're going to spend 2 days trying to find that on YouTube. Like, good luck. It feels like buying life insurance where they give you all the stories of Tommy who died when he was like 35. And, you're like, okay, I should probably buy the biggest package possible. So that's, that's the issue.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think about recently, I wanted to show this app that we're using and my team was like, yeah, show that off. Show that off. Everybody should see that. I'm like, but we're still testing it. Like, remember how our editor doesn't like this thing or like this thing? I'm like, maybe we shouldn't test it. So we kicked it for a week. And then someone was like, I thought you guys were going to show off something about clipping. And I was like, yeah, okay. And it took me like 3 takes, which sometimes it takes 3 takes for something. Sure. But usually I do these live. I had to figure that out 3 times. So like, how can I show this off simply? I can't. Okay. Well, maybe other people shouldn't get it.
Ooh, that's actually a really good point. I think for everyone to realize I will make things look easy because I've shot 100 videos.
Yes.
They just look easy because of my on-camera presence.
Yeah.
It's not that easy. Plus I had you guys, I had 7 tabs up, well prepared for when I was going to go to each tab. Hello.
Yes. That's what I was doing, like making sure everything was loaded. And I was like, wow, I still missed one. Okay, like try it again. I say that line all the time around here that if I make it look easy, I'm doing my job right. Like I'm doing it right, but it's not.
Right.
But yeah. Oh my goodness.
Right. So, Allie, some of us who tend to be those types of entrepreneurs that went out and grabbed the next big project, grabbed the next big thing, moved on from those terrible employers, or maybe not even terrible, just things that we don't no longer want to do. What happens though when you get distracted? What happens when there is that next big idea? Maybe it's a squirrel, maybe it's something that runs past you and you're like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. Are there times where you've chased after it and it's worked out great? Are there times where you've just dealt with it and moved on? And what does it look like there?
Yeah, that's a good question. And in fact, I think the more I work with clients, the more I recognize that in myself. Because the biggest source of frustration that I have as now an external partner to a lot of folks is there is this time, I call this the water weight period, where it's like, okay, so think about weight loss. And in the first 2 weeks, you're like, oh my gosh, I lost 10 pounds or whatever. And you're like, dude, eat some carbs and drink some water and you're going to get it all back. Like, that's what happens here. And so you get these early signs of success in anything that you're doing. So shiny object, yeah, we close one deal. We're going to move in this whole different direction. But when you get into that terrible middle where the scale's not moving and you're still putting in the work, you haven't hit your next breakthrough yet. So I am so frustrated when clients want to jump and do that, that it's helped me recognize not to do that myself. Now, that being said, there are windows of opportunity that we have to recognize as entrepreneurs. So right now we've got a service that we're launching to the market. If we do not execute in the next 3 months, that window is gone and it will become a commodity. So we're advising on this new piece of technology that's available. It's not going to be new in 6 months. So we have to capitalize right now. And that's where like minimum viable execution is absolutely critical. So we felt like that with YouTube. Now we're just on a regular path to like build it. The one that I speak of specifically is actually helping companies move to the new YouTube podcast tab. A lot of companies don't realize that that podcast tab is actually 100% new. It functions a little bit differently than your current YouTube channel. And the way to optimize that is somewhat different than your current video strategy.
Okay.
So if you have an existing podcast and you don't, one, know about this, or two, you do know about it and you're like, yeah, we'll get to that eventually. Right now is the hot time. You're going to miss the window if you don't execute now. The second one is that like right now we have Chat GPT, which is coming into the market with a force. And I tweeted about this yesterday. What it's causing is this rising tide of crap. And so if you're doing the same thing everyone else is doing, which is like, oh my God, I can now send sequenced emails using AI. Guess what? Everyone else just talked about that in their sales meeting too. So if you haven't realized that doing the same thing as everybody else is not the way to stand out, then we do have a way for you to stand out. And that's another service we're offering. So
Yeah, I love
Great.
it. I love it.
Awesome.
Ali, since you mentioned about working with clients, I think it's really, really important to just point out to all of our listeners, right? So we have entrepreneurs here that are established and maybe they just have their one thing. And then we have a whole lot of serial entrepreneurs that listen, as well as corporate decision makers too, right? That are making some choices for their tech and their marketing as well. But I think what's really great having you on is that you serve other entrepreneurs, right? Other decision makers all the time. And I think that's a really interesting place for you to be on this show and share with us a little bit, because you can just tap right in with this really blunt way of saying a few things to all of us that we need to hear it. Matt and I both serve entrepreneurs in different ways. And we don't hear enough of others besides us yammering on about it, that there's been like this kind of the stall, that whether it's, I can speculate on what it could be, but they're also not taking action. And I love a quote by JFK that the time to fix the roof is when the sun is shining. I believe he actually wrote it thinking about marketing. I'm convinced of it. Maybe not. But anyway, I think that so many times we forget that this is the game and the journey that we're on, and we have to play it really, really well. And they forget. So if there's something that you could speak to some of the entrepreneurs that are listening, they're deciding on their next step in marketing or their next thing that they're going to launch. If there's something that you could share with all of them listening right now, what would you say to them?
first of all, I didn't know that quote existed. And I love that. And I love JFK. But I think the bigger thing that I have people think about is if you want sales today, what you should have done 90 days ago is what you should do today. That's the hardest part. There's not a day that goes by that I don't have a call or a meeting or consultation of some sort where someone says, you know, what we want to do is we want to find people who are ready to buy what we have right now. And I'm like, oh my God, join the freaking club.
Same.
I'm like,
Same. Yes.
come on. Yeah.
Yeah. I said, let's talk about this logically. If logically I was able to do that, I would be a bazillionaire. And the very logic of me doing that for everybody would render that ineffective because everyone would be doing the same thing. But the bigger thing to realize is that there are different types of marketing activities, marketing and sales. There are people that, again, will raise their hand and say, that sounds like me. I want that. I need that, whatever. But the bigger thing is there are campaign-driven activities that are promoting a specific pain they can act on today. And then there are relationship building marketing activities that needed to happen 90, 180 days ago. So what you need to invest in, like I will tell you, if you don't have a lot of bandwidth to do a lot of marketing activity, you should probably make sure your database and your CRM is clean. Because when you start catapulting data into your CRM from some campaign, holy mother, I can tell you how many CRMs I've looked at that are a giant mess because they were like, let's just go. And then you end up with a house from 1910 that's been added onto like 17 times. And no one can figure out how to find the bathroom. Like that's literally what happens. Yes. So I tell myself this: what does Allie tomorrow wish Allie today would have done?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm not the only person that thinks about future Nicole and past Nicole. Like, and I'll thank her. Like, I'll be like, thank you, past Nicole, for setting me up for this.
For
and
real.
Make sure I tell future Nicole like now, right now.
I thank past Nicole for things in my business, just so you know. Okay, thank you, past Nicole, for making me do that thing I really did not want to do, just for the record.
Oh, yeah, you do sometimes do
yes,
that.
I do.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true. It's so key. So I love that you shared this. May I just get like the spirit of Allie on me a little bit more often because you just said it in such a bold way to them, because it is about some of what I call pre-sales activities. What are you doing? What are you doing ahead of time? And that people do buy at a different rate of speed. And so this just warms my heart. I feel like I don't have to talk the rest of the show, Matt. Just go ahead. Go ahead from here.
Yeah. Well, also, I remind clients, and if they see this parallel, great. If they don't, like, they're probably not worth working with. But this is the reason why the diet, supplement, slim fast, whatever industry is huge. And personal trainers still have to be like, the secret is eat less and work out more.
Yes, multi-billion-dollar industry. And we're all like, what is it again? Okay, what? So I have to drive to the gym and go in? Oh, man. I mean, it messes me up every single time. So, Allie, tell me about a time, because the reality is they can get there, right? But there's something that they just need to believe about themselves or about the situation. So tell me about a time that you, like a story that you felt distracted in your business, or there were shiny objects or squirrels that you had to overcome.
Sure. Well, even right now, we're going through one of those. And I will say I had a meeting with my business partner about 3 weeks ago, and the very difficult conversation internally, when you're on the receiving end of that, you can either say, this person's being a jerk, or you can say they might have some valid points. So I'm going to listen. And I prefer to be person number 2 because nobody likes person number 1. And that was very much like, listen, just because this isn't working doesn't mean we need to change everything. And as an entrepreneur, because ideas come easy, I think sometimes we do think like, oh, it's fine. It's super easy. And to us in our mind, we just think like, a little bit of pivot. And what it creates is these giant cascading effects throughout the rest of the organization. And then in absence of a story, people make up their own stories. If you think about this, like, oh, we're going to shift a little bit of messaging on our website. To me, it's a little bit of messaging, but then our clients are like, wait a minute, are you doing this anymore? Wait a minute, are they still in business? And it creates all of these issues. So the very real conversation internally was, let's break this down and talk about why you want to make this change. And realistically, we need a better process internally of converting sales with our internal messaging, not the external thing. So we took this, a thing that I thought we needed to like completely overdo. And I also went to a conference, had some good conversations with folks there. So it kind of was this like over time mountain of evidence that was basically brewing against me, where I wanted to make this big change. And then the realization was we need to spend some time working on our sales scripts. And that's where we're starting. So this giant thing was like, okay, now we've got an action. And in the next 2 weeks, we're going to do these 3 things. And I think that's what I'm trying to shake out of those meetings is like, we often say we're going to do this thing. And the thing is this giant initiative. And in the words of David Allen, like the getting things done guy, what is my next step?
Yeah.
That I need to do.
Yeah. The next best thing. Yeah. Oh,
Sorry, maybe I don't follow it, but like help me understand it. So you're changing something with your branding and even a little change. You said what we first have to do is adjust our internal sales scripts. Can you draw the correlation to the two? And I'm the one person who does not own any sort of agency or any sort of marketing. And I think some of our listeners don't either. So they think it would be helpful to understand that.
Yeah. So I'll give you the example. If you go to our website, we say we help you get more out of HubSpot, and we do.
Okay.
And the challenge that I was having and continue to talk to our team about is HubSpot is a tool. And to some of the world, they see the tool as the most important. They see it as their vehicle. They see it as their car. They put gas in it. They drive it around, whatever. So other people, they see it merely as a hammer in their toolbox and they just like smack everything with it. And so they're not looking at us as people to put the fuel into their car. And the fuel is content marketing, sales campaigns, all the things you would do inside of the HubSpot platform to make your car go, essentially. And so I was thinking, well, we need to change all of our messaging. And the realization is we get most of our leads through our HubSpot channels, through our YouTube channel, through our HubSpot content. So we need to do a better job of uncovering those needs in our sales conversations to help the prospective clients understand where we can help them, instead of assuming that they're just going to come to the table with this like menu of things that they need help with, because no amount of website messaging is going to change that. We need to do a better job in our discovery process.
I got you. So especially setting client expectations inside that inside sales meeting, that way they understand that, okay, this tool that's HubSpot in this case is not just the magic pill that's going to fix everything in your business. There is people who operate, turn these widgets and hit these buttons, right? And making sure the clients understand that those expectations have been laid out ahead of time, correct? Am I understanding
Correct. Yeah. Okay. And also, I mean, we live in a world as a non-marketing person, the world that I live in, I would love it if everybody would come to a meeting knowing what marketing is, how to use it, blah, blah, blah. But the realization is they watch some, super annoying person on TikTok talk about marketing in a completely crazy way. And now their expectations are just all over the board. So it's more about people management and expectation management than it is about our messaging. 100%.
That helped me understand it. 100%. Thank you.
Yeah. I still would like to see cars on the website if they're not already there. Just saying. All of a sudden I'm like, ooh, but visually, wow, that would really tell the story.
Yeah. Like, I want to go get like one of those cars that, is annoying, like marketing bros take a picture in front of their Lamborghini. And then I want them to put the ignition, like the key in the ignition, and they're like, it's not going anywhere. And I'm like, exactly.
You don't have the right key, or you don't have the right fuel, or would you fill this thing with just any gas? Yeah. See, oh my gosh, so many things.
It is so interesting because I'm seeing this right now, even in my own business, and I'm sure other people see it like, okay, I have a pain point and it's this automation issue regarding getting e-signatures out, and my current platform doesn't do, which creates a bigger problem on my team and for me to do my operations. And so even though this tool that I thought was amazing, it can do all this other cool stuff, if it's causing a big enough pain point for me, I'm asking myself, is there something else out there that's better, or potentially I could implement that my team could utilize and fix that e-signature problem? Whatever it is in someone's business, I'm just giving that snapshot of maybe something that's not marketing. Maybe it's an operational issue, right? Something else. I get it now that basically the hammer does not fix every single problem. Okay.
Although now I feel like you should ask your next question that you probably want to know, because sometimes you do this on the show, right? Like, but can you solve this for me right now? Is HubSpot now solving e-signatures?
We do use HubSpot to send out quotes for our consulting work and product library, everything. So if this was a consultation and I said, hey, thanks for your time, here's what we're going to talk about, I'll send you an estimate, I can send that and you can e-sign in HubSpot and actually pay directly in HubSpot too. So all of our income goes through that. Now, if you use a third-party system, there are other tools that we'd recommend that integrate with HubSpot. So you can still send it through HubSpot, automated workflows. You don't have to touch it, but it then shows up in their record. So our goal is, if someone says, I need to do this in HubSpot, like, we are the people that can say, here's how you do that, whether it's native or a third-party integration.
Right. That makes sense. Gotcha.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. Okay, good. Solving some problems for you, Matthew, right now.
Exactly.
Right there. There you go. Now you know of a plethora of options.
Allie, we've talked about how you are serving entrepreneurs at a high level, and you yourself are an entrepreneur and operating your own business. So what are some of the obstacles in your day-to-day business that you're encountering?
Yeah, right now we're working through a lot of these. And I think the smarter you get as a person, the more you realize that you have so much more growth to do. Like, it's the opposite effect where I can't think of the name of the phenomenon, but it's that, like, as an amateur, you think everything's easy. And then where you get into it, you realize that everything's complicated, right? I am working on myself as a leader, training my staff. I will say, as an entrepreneur, I falsely assumed that knowing how to do all the things was the mark of an entrepreneur. And actually, an entrepreneur is really great at creating systems and people to fulfill the things so they can multiply their impact. So I'm using Notion and documenting every time someone says something internally. I'm like, stop, wait, repeat that and let me document it.
Yes.
And AI is built into Notion. So I'll type in, like, what are the types of meetings that a marketing agency has? And the AI will spit out 5 different types of meetings. Okay, we don't do these 2. And so I just modify it. But I wrote that process of the types of meetings, how long they are, what the agendas are, within like 30 minutes. So it's an obstacle because we are not really good as entrepreneurs about putting time on our calendar to build things that are not profit first.
Exactly. This is what I'm trying to say, folks.
Yes.
So again, like, guys, I could take 5 more meetings this week. Here's the deal. I take 5 more meetings this week and I don't push them off to next week. If I don't absolutely need the revenue, I'm going to be in the same stinking boat that I'm in right now in 60 days. So stop it. Like, slap. What does future Allie wish today Allie would do? She needs to do that. That's obstacle number 1 that we're working through. Obstacle number 2 is, quite frankly, I've never been an entrepreneur and not a mother at the same time. Like, I had my son when I was very young. So I have 2 boys now. And let's just face it, there is no working in the weekends. I have had a mortgage. I've had a car payment. I've never had this, like, I can own a business and make $200 and sleep on someone's couch. But I've had to have today started at 6 because I have to leave at 4. Like, that just has to happen. And knowing how to work through that's super important, and being okay with taking personal time to recharge. You learn that the hard way or you burn out. And that's how it works.
Yeah, we prioritize other things, that's for sure. Oh my gosh. So how have you done it? Since we're going to open up the family stuff, let's talk about that. Any week that I have reserved some time, nature just knows when, to make sure my family is sick or something. But I'll, like, block time out that's like CEO time that is not related necessarily to today revenue. And if there is a time that all hell breaks loose in my house, that the kids are sick or the husband is sick or the caregiver, oh, that's my favorite. I'm like, wait, shoot, like, literally we have no caregivers to come take over the toddler or the kiddo to school. What have been some of your hacks? How have you been doing it?
Yeah, well, it's very funny because I say that the Google Calendar, if it's not on the calendar,
It doesn't exist.
Yeah, it does not exist. This is a horrible example, but I've got a ton of, like, extra tax paperwork that needs to be shredded. And I'm like, I could either have my son sit here and shred stuff for hours and risk, like, burning out my shredder, or there's a shredding day at a bank down the street. It's on the calendar. My husband's like, what is this? And I was like, we have to go. We have to go to this shredding day. Like, I invite my kids to their own activities. They have their own calendar, like, planning. Like the importance of planning. What is it? An hour of planning saves 3 hours of life like chaos. So planning isn't critical. I would say the second thing is I'm okay asking for help. Like there was a time in my life where I would be like, no, I got this. But I think about when my son's friends ask us to take him home from practice.
Right.
I would love to help out. So I've just had to reach out and be like, hey guys, we have 2 conflicts today. I can't do this. I'm out of town or my husband's doing this. I need someone to take Emmett to practice. And they're like, oh yeah, I got this. So I've learned to just really reach out and say, how can I leverage the relationships in my life to get more done when people are more than willing to help? So that's a huge thing. And then the third thing is just realize I've had to make some concessions. Like I have a housekeeper because I just refuse to clean toilets. I have 3 boys in my house. Like it's not going to happen. And I have to be okay with, I'm saying this publicly, but I filed an extension for my taxes because I was not going to get my stuff done by tax day and I'm not going to freak out, So
that's
it's
why
just
it's there. That's why it's there. So it's okay.
90% of entrepreneurs that I know that are not married, by the way, to financial or accountants, by the way, that are not married to those people. But 90% of the entrepreneurs that I know, case in point, today, my extension just got filed. So welcome to the club. Hello, my name is Matt. Yes, I'm an extension filer too as well. Was this the meeting we're supposed to set up today?
Yeah, this is Extension Anonymous. Yeah.
Extension
So
Anonymous.
many don't need to hear this right now, for sure. And to be fair, even though my husband is a financial analyst, and even though I geek out on taxes all the time, we were prepared and ready to go with our extension too, Matt, because there was something that wasn't filed on Kyle's end. So to be fair, while you're listening, even the Schmied household were like, we're gonna have to file that extension. So yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
safe
choosing what you're going to be able to fight your battles for and what you're not. You have to almost have like a personal mission statement on what's okay and what's not okay for you, and then live by those values as opposed to everyone else's kind of like external pressures on you.
Yeah, mine was last Friday night. And just to give context to folks, we are recording this show on tax day itself. That way, just so people, we normally don't say a date when we record things, but just because. So mine was about 4 days ago, and Friday night when I looked at everything, I'm like, yeah, I just want to go to bed. So talk about being prioritized. I told you I was tired, right? So I was like, I'm going to work on taxes, or I'm going to go to bed. It's going to cost me some penalties, but sleep was important Friday night.
Yes,
exactly. Yes. Oh my goodness, I love it. Thanks for sharing about some of those obstacles. You gave like really great examples of how the stuff just shows up, and it's often our response to all of it. So I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, Allie, what are you working on that the world needs to know about today?
We're igniting webinars again, even though during pandemic everyone had enough of them, and now I think they're back, but in a way that people want. Like you both offer a very authentic experience on your podcast. So you can tell it's not like this, here's the 5 questions we're going to ask sort of thing, which most webinars are that, and they're terrible. We're launching a webinar series that is twice a month. The first webinar is more designed to help folks understand the fuel that they need to build their marketing engine. So it's actually called the Flywheel Fuel series. And our first one's going to be generating leads and results on LinkedIn. So we're going to be doing that the first week of May. So if this airs after that, feel free to catch the recording. It'll be on our website. But then we have a new series at the end of the month that's going to be changes that have happened in HubSpot in the platform in the last 30 days, what that means for your business and how to put them to work. So I don't know if anybody here reads the product updates of their favorite software. P.S. I don't think anybody does that.
I do. One of mine I have to because it's a legal software. But anyways,
only when I worked in tech before.
Yes. And like people that geek out on product updates typically are product marketers because they're like, ooh, what's happening in HubSpot?
Yes.
But the average business owner, we listen through the same lens that we do all advice, and that is, what's in this for me and should I even care? So for instance, like one of the things that came out last month was you can add deal tags in HubSpot now, which means like, think about a Scrum board. Your deal stages can now look like Scrum boards with like little cool sticky notes that are colored on them. Awesome. All right. Here's what that means for you. So that's going to be a webinar we'll do at the end of the month. But those 2 things are I'm pretty excited about them. It's a ton of value, tons of opportunities to learn more without any strings attached for you.
So what is one of the key lessons you've learned as an entrepreneur? Maybe it's something you find yourself saying again and again.
Trust the process. Always.
Yeah. How does that show up for you and your team?
So when people ask, how do you get it all done? Everything in my life has a process around it. If you think you're excited about something today, give it 2 weeks. And if you don't have a process, you will lose that momentum, enthusiasm. So the process keeps you going when the momentum wanes.
Oh, wow. I like it. She even gave time frame. I love
Good stuff. Allie, how would you define your entrepreneurial success?
For me, entrepreneurial success comes at the impact I can make through other people, and watching them achieve their goals is, I think, the most rewarding part of my job.
Yeah.
Nice.
Helping someone else hit a number. I get that. I do. I do.
Awesome.
Okay. So tell us, where's your favorite place to hang out online if somebody wants to message you and get in connection with you directly?
LinkedIn's one of the best places for me, but also Twitter now, evidently today, known as X Corp. If you guys saw that, they're renaming themselves to X Corp officially. So I will be on X Corp, formerly known as Twitter, if you happen to be a Twitter follower / person.
Allie, it's been a blast.
Great meeting you both. And
Awesome.
I was curious of how the marketer / attorney thing was going to work out. Not going to lie. I listened to the intro, but Matt, you have surpassed all expectations of the typical attorney profile. So good job.
Oh, wow.
The
I never get
highest
the
compliment.
compliment. That is the highest compliment that's ever.
I'm not sure.
Hey, it's Nicole, and that's the end of the interview. But stick around. This is the part where Matt and I break it all down and give you our favorite takeaways. Listen in.
Hey, Matt, we just came off chatting with Allie Schwanke. Rhymes with donkey, everybody. That's right.
Mhm.
And I just have to jump in right away and say the biggest takeaway, or at least the starting one, is her affect, her demeanor. If you're watching this on video, you saw it. If you're listening on a drive, maybe you could pick up on it. But she is known for her no BS approach. That's true. But it just even comes across the way she delivers herself and her message to you, whatever she has to share. And it feels, forget authentic. Like, yeah, sure. But it reminds me that you can deliver however you're going to deliver. And when what you have to say is so great, it's going to hit home. I really enjoyed it.
Agreed. Nothing else more to add than I've said to several people before in the past. You know what? I'm not everyone's cup of tea. And I know for a fact that when I say something a certain way, it's going to rub 50% of the crowd wrong. But if I can own the other 50%, and that 50% says, you know what, Matt's a no BS guy when it comes to that or whatever else, I love that. And I love that about her, that she just came out, for lack of a better term, authentic. I like it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really powerful to me to watch that in real life happen. So that's great. She knows how to do this podcast guest thing for sure.
I want to ask you this question. Second takeaway for me is, what do you think of her comments regarding how-to videos, Nicole? Because you do a lot of them. So what did you think of that?
I was relieved to hear they're not dead. As I shared on the show recently, I heard like, well, you can't just be how-to. You have to make sure that you give them a belief system. And to me, as an entrepreneur, what I need out there sometimes is none of the fluff. I don't need you got to believe in yourself. You got to go after, you got to want it. No, I got that. I just need to know how to push these few buttons. Where are they? And so I am a person who's looking in the mirror and saying, like, how can I get someone the info that they need faster? Because that's what I've needed as I was a solopreneur, like figuring out all the things on my own and just not trying to spend all my time on YouTube or Googling or trying to find that one article that finally told me how to do it. A reminder, though, that sometimes we do make it look way too easy and maybe we shouldn't, right? Like maybe I should show you, hey, sometimes it does take 3 or 4 times to really lay it out so that you can just like go step by step. I think that was really, really helpful to hear. How-to's not dead. Maybe a couple little tweaks so we can keep it going.
On that, I will say that the one thing that came up for me was when you guys were discussing about the coaching them and giving them the belief system with it. I sat back and thought, well, you know what that person needs is they need to hire that agency or them as a coach or something, because if that's what you're going to need beyond a quick how-to video tutorial, comes at a price. That's even what she alluded to when she said, you have to figure out also, are you balancing that with certain fear? You're looking at other aspects, because if you're doing that, you are seeding the offer to, hey, come hire us to do this for you then. If I'm sitting there needing that belief system coached into me, I probably need more than your quick little how-to video.
Right.
Facts,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep. No,
What else you got?
absolutely. Last thing I think it speaks to all of our entrepreneurs listening, definitely our serial entrepreneurs, is she said that they created the YouTube channel on a whim, that they decided to go forward with it after they pitched it to a client who didn't want to move forward, thought the idea was cute. And I thought how incredible it was that she said, we tried it, we went after it. I was just on a whim. And I think that that's sometimes what we hear when we hear outsider voices calling things shiny object syndrome or squirrels, or, we're just distracted, or even our own internal voice is like, is that a distraction or is that real? And I think she proved that sometimes some of those things are not shiny objects. They might be your brightest idea. And that just spoke to me. And she just barely said it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's it for me.
I loved when she even said, wait a second, we've been doing these group meetings, these live trainings, all these things. Been doing this for years now. And all of a sudden, oh, now you recognize us. And I even love the fact that whim started, as you stated, from almost like a I hate to say it, but almost like a screw you kind of like, well, you don't want to
We'll
take the
show
idea?
you. Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
show you a thing or two. And what ended up happening? Became a huge revenue generator for them, right? It drives so much traffic, it sounds like. I loved it.
I love it. I'm inspired. Well, folks, you know what we always say, if you're listening.
Keep listening.
Oh, but you're going to have something funny.
No.
All right.
Oh, you only go get lunch once. All right. Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to the Serial Entrepreneur Show, produced by the team here at SmartCookie Media.